Okay.
It's going to take a couple of minutes.
I
I didn't see your message. It didn't come through. I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, you sent it at like 15 hours ago.
Yeah, I sent it quite some time ago.
Because I pulled your name up and I saw
Oh,
that. That's the only reason I saw it. That's weird.
oh, that is weird. I'm sorry, I'm looking over here, but I can't, because I've got multiple screens, and I don't normally use the laptop. I don't know how to get it to the laptop, so I'm looking at the laptop.
What do you mean? Get what? So you're using multiple screens?
Yeah, because I use multiple screens for work.
Oh, I see.
Bigger screens. I don't use the laptop because it's too small.
Well, you can just look over there. You can look over there.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm looking at you, but I'm not looking at over there.
It's no big deal. No big deal. God, finally, after 3 stops and starts here.
I know. But do you know what? The first week when you said, I'm going to have to cancel, reschedule, whatever you said,
Yeah.
I felt a sense of relief. I thought, oh, thank goodness. It didn't feel right on the day.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling right. That's why I canceled.
Yeah.
Which never used to happen, but it's happened probably 12 times this year.
Yeah, it's pretty
Well, then last week you thought we were going on the day before or something. I can't remember what it was. Oh no, you
last week I had the landscaper here, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll be done by then. I was dreaming.
Yeah, but you know what? I had just moved on the Google Calendar. You can just drag. Like if you have a cancel, you can just drag it to the next date. And I put it on the wrong Saturday. So it wasn't you that had the day wrong. It was me that put it on the wrong Saturday.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, your Saturday, my Friday.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're all good.
Yeah. But I'm finding that anyway. I just can't. I can't seem to schedule anything in advance. Just because from one day to the next, it's just so different.
It's very weird.
It is really weird. Really weird. Anywho, maybe I can.
So what's going on in Victoria?
Wow. Yeah. Lots.
I saw phenomenal.
As you can probably see, because we're in the spotlight all over the world.
I know.
It's embarrassing, really. What's going on in Victoria? Oh, a lot. I think a lot more than we think. Actually, the day we had the earthquake, because you heard we had an earthquake.
That was what, about 3 weeks ago, right?
Probably a bit more, actually. Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah. That morning I woke up and saw basically Melbourne or Victoria, but it encompassed our government. It encompassed all. And this is the other thing I'm finding really difficult is the information that's coming through is really informative or accurate, but I find it really difficult to find words to describe the information that I'm seeing, because it's kind of, I don't think our vocabulary can capture what is being given to us. Anyway, that morning I woke up and I saw basically we were built out of tarot cards. So Melbourne or Victoria was built out of tarot cards, and I was being told, just stand back and watch the cards fall. And I watched them fall in slow motion, and one fell at my feet, And as I looked down, it was the Sun card. And I don't know anything about tarot cards, so I had to Google. And it's a good card, the Sun card. And then within a couple of hours, I was sitting at my desk right here working, and I could feel the house shaking. And I didn't know what it was to begin with. Actually, I heard the noise first, and I thought, is that a truck going by? Like, it was really loud and intense. And then I heard things, because there's walls. I heard stuff falling between the walls, and it took me, I reckon, a good 5 seconds to realize that we were having an earthquake. So it was really interesting that I saw that morning, and then we had an earthquake that day. So things are pretty intense here in Victoria, to say the least.
Yeah, energetically.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, because the people are really intense at the moment as well, and yeah, it's and I feel like this month in particular, it's getting worse. I feel like, actually, it might have been 2 mornings ago, I woke up and the first thing I saw was kind of like a war scene. You know, when you see the gunfire.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hiding behind something, and it was basically a metaphor for just stay down, stay low, stay out of the fire for November, basically.
For November.
For November in particular. And that was, you know, again, just for here, I suspect.
I wonder if that means, like, keep your energy self-contained, you know, like don't attach to, you know, what's going on or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's exactly what I was being told, because it is really intense at the moment, and it is very easy to get caught up in the crossfire.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of judgment at the moment, and that judgment was also coming from me. I had a period of time where I was feeling just the injustice, and I just that word injustice kept going through my head, and I realized, you know, that word, the word justice or just, when things are just, how do we determine if something is just? And we use laws to judge whether something is just. And the operative word being judge, we use laws to judge. Therefore, we're judging when we feel unjust or unjust. We're using judgment instead of discernment. So excuse me, I had to switch to discernment, which requires awareness rather than judgment, because when I'm in judgment or in feeling unjust, I think that's coming from ego more than anything else. So I've tried to switch to discernment and using awareness rather than that feeling of injustice. Yeah.
So if you look at what's happening over there through the lens of judgment versus the lens of discernment, what's it like? Where does discernment?
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does that feel like?
I actually saw it quite clearly some time ago, before it even got to this point. And to me, it was as though Victoria, for some reason, Australia does, but Victoria in particular holds a really, really dense energy, and in order for that to disperse, it's got to crumble. It has to come down. It has to crumble. It has to implode to expose all of that, really. And the long term, what I saw was that that this place will end up being similar to your Shasta and
I knew you were going to say that.
yeah,
No, but it makes sense.
Yeah. So as intense as it is, so judgment only allows me to see what's happening now with my eyes, whereas discernment allows me to use my heart's awareness more than my brain's capability of judging what I'm seeing through.
I wonder if judgment is the story. Discernment is like judgment looks at the
Truth.
story, like the literal story, without the awareness, that you have to have with the discernment, like you were saying, like seeing things for what they really are. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and the judgment holds us in that story, and it's really hard to see the truth through the eyes of the story, because it's a story.
It's a story.
Yeah. Actually, I had a friend of mine. Her mum passed away several years ago, like 10 or so years ago, and last year it might have been late last year, she showed me a screen, like a backdrop, a film screen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a war scene, and she rolled it up, and behind that was a beautiful scenery. So basically, it's going to come good, is what she was telling me.
Yeah.
And then the image popped in again not long ago, and she was there, and I said, you said the screen was going to disappear, and I said, but now it's even worse. It's even worse than it was before. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. She said, it's just the smoke machines they've got going on the side now, because we were able to see, behind the screen. So now they've just got the smoke machines going to kind of hide the sides of the screen so that you can't see around. And it's just more smoke and mirrors. Just keep going. Just keep going. And I think the more time we spend inwardly, the more we are reminded that we're okay. We're okay. Everything's okay.
I'm reminded that a lot of people talked about there'll come a point where many people are going to need help. And a lot of people will say we're going to be put to work. Like all the different skills and abilities and modalities and different things that we came into are going to be put to use on a really grand scale. And then I was listening to Pete Evans talk to somebody over there, some guy, I forget his name, Miles was his last name, I think. He's running for office, but and Pete was saying in his own words how there would be certain people that would be kind of like holding the light for other people. But the reason I bring it up is because I was thinking about, like everybody's individual journey, that dark night of the soul. Like, I remember you talking about certain things that you came into. I don't remember the specifics of your story, but I remember you talking about some things that happened with another person and past lives and, different things, how you were putting it all together. But like, I was thinking is maybe that's what we're supposed to do. Maybe that's how we do it, is we not go back, but kind of tap into whatever level of awareness and discernment we were having in our own lives. It was really just involving us, really, because we kind of got estranged from families and relationships ended and jobs ended and radical changes. And of course, you're having the dark nights of the soul, and we tapped into something, which I don't think we ever tapped out of. But like, is that what we're supposed to do? How do we apply what we did individually? Like in your own situation, did you have like dark nights of the soul? And if so,
Oh,
how did you navigate that? How did you
during
transform?
this time or
No,
previously?
I mean like previous, and to be applied to, maybe is it being applied now? Because now this is
Yeah.
more of a collective dark night
Yeah.
versus the individual dark night. You know what I mean? Like what was going on
You
with
know,
you?
yeah, it's interesting. I'll share something that just happened recently, which relates to exactly what you're saying, and then we can talk about the old dark night of the soul. This was just before the vaccine mandate came in, or was definitely coming in. It was, it was definitely coming in, and basically, it was a little bit up in the air as to what we were going to be allowed to do. Were we going to be allowed to even shop for food? Nobody was really sure about what was going on. And I was angry. I had so much anger in me that it scared me. It literally scared me, because I've never felt that anger before, and never even knew it was there. I had no idea it was there. So I sat down to just shut my eyes and go in and see what was going on, because I just couldn't get rid of it. And I was asked, "Why are you angry?" And I was shown our premier's face, because he's the one that's calling the shots, and he's not a very popular man right now. And I was shown his face, and that my anger just went through the roof. And I was asked, "Why are you angry?" And I said, because of all the lies, the deception, the just the whole, where we're at right now with the deception. Anyway, and I was told, but that's been around for as long as you've been alive. So why now? Why are you angry now? You've known about it, so why are you angry now? And I was saying, because it's worse now. It's worse than it was before. And I was being told it's not worse than it was before. So why are you angry now? And I had to admit, I had to be 100% honest with myself and admit why I was angry. And the reason I was angry was because now it's affecting me. Now it's personally affecting me. And I had to come to terms with that part of me that was selfish enough to say, "Oh yeah, there's, our governments are corrupt, and yeah, that's all, but it's not affecting me personally right now. So therefore, it's not my problem." And I had to take ownership of that. But what it did show me as well was, had I gone in and looked at my anger, yes, I didn't realize it was there, but perhaps I should have spent a bit more time looking at what was in there to see the anger, to address it. Had we all done that deeper level of work, and this is just hypothetical, maybe it wouldn't have made any difference at all. Had we all done our own deep work, the work that we've been doing in the past 12 months, and so many people are saying, if nothing else, this has made me do my work. Had we done that previously, would we be in this situation that we're in right now? I don't know. Would we? Or would some of that have results through the work that we may have done previously? But one thing that did do as well was once I addressed that and came to terms with the responsibility that with my responsibility in what has been happening, the anger eased, and I was able to look at him, our premier, and actually feel him. And I sat in front of him, and he was so afraid. There was just so much fear and panic in him. And he said, if I don't basically succeed in this plan, I may as well be dead. And I said to him, I actually held his hands and said, if you do succeed, you may as well be dead. And he was just absolutely in terror. Fear is not even the right word, but he was in absolute terror.
He's damned if
you're
like damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, in his mind, in his human mind, that's how he feels. I suppose he feels he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. But I think energetically, he's not damned if he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. So that was interesting. So that to me, that thing of us doing our work and our own personal work. Yeah, I agree. I think that's ultimately, really, that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? It's what it comes down to. Everything boils down to that.
Oh,
Are we prepared to do our own work?
Well, yeah. That's like that, everything I think, say, and do creates everything that happens. And to think that actually has a consequence to the collective experience is ridiculous, but somehow it's true.
Yeah.
Somehow it's true. And so you said another thing too, which was, I knew the corruption and everything was out there, but I didn't give it much because it wasn't affecting me. Okay. So I remember reading something a few days ago as I was gathering memes for the group, and it said something. It was like an old poet or writer from a few hundred years back, or philosopher or something, and he was saying basically that it's not about loving and hating. It's about the indifference we have towards others. Kind of like what you were just saying, and not that it's like a judgment or condemnation, but it was just thought provoking, because you see the words love, you see the words hate, and you thought, oh well, all the answers are right there. But no, it was the indifference to others. So there was something in that meme that spoke to me about the connectivity of the universe. Like, everything is connected. We affect everything. We know this. Yeah. And we, as humans, we do tend to concern ourselves with what concerns itself with us, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if it's not if 1 out of 8 children in this world are not eating today, that's the statistics I can see on the internet if I look it up. But what am I doing with that? And it's interesting too, because if you look at the journey of a lot of people here, it's the empath who was taking in all this stuff of other people, and who had a genuine, heartfelt compassion and caring for people when they would feel things that weren't so cool. Yeah. Yet at the same time, when you made that statement, I think any of us could have. Like, this hasn't really been in our face. It's been conspiracy theory. It's been a 9/11 event that, these different things that happen, they get swept under the rug and we kind of forget about them because, you can call it Stockholm syndrome. You can call it indifference towards others, but it's like it's so in our face now that we're going to care what happens to everyone. It just almost feels like a natural evolution as the universe reconnects itself through us, right? Like there has to be like an acknowledgement of everyone, like in this case, Earth, every person on the Earth. And I know that sounds, like uh, new age-ish or whatever, but I
No,
think,
it's come to that.
but it's actually something you have to feel. You know what I mean? You actually have to feel like, hey, this isn't going to work. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about child trafficking and sex trafficking, and that's a very, uh, that's a very um, serious thing. But, and not to take anything away from it, but there's all kinds of issues here. There are 1 out of 8 out of children that aren't eating in the world. One out of 8. If you look at this, they had this big deal for the last month in the U.S. about these 2 YouTubers that went out in a van that had been in a relationship for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and he ends up killing her. So she disappears. He drives all the way back home to Florida. She's not there. The cops get involved. He goes out into the wilderness and kills himself. But my point is, this was one person that went missing, and there's all these other people that went missing. So it was kind of weird because there are all these other stories popped up about so-and-so's missing and so-and-so's missing. Why aren't they getting the press? But to me, it was more like, out of sight, out of mind. So this indifference is something that maybe we all have to come to terms with. Like even you pulling up Dan Andrews, there was compassion, right? There was no longer this indifference, right? I mean,
But I could only find that compassion once I dealt with my own issues, because there was quite a bit that unfolded, but I couldn't find that compassion until I dealt with my own issues, my own anger. Yeah. And I think, and I think by doing that, we also ease, like you said, we're all connected. So therefore, if I'm easing my anger, my sadness, my frustration, my whatever it is, my fear, I'm also helping others do the same.
Yeah.
Not by saying anything or necessarily going out and speaking to anyone else, but just by doing that.
Yeah.
I had actually during one of my dark nights of the soul, I was given these stories about the 4 chambers of the heart. There's a chamber of knowledge, chamber of truth, chamber of solace, and the chamber of power. And I won't go into them, but over the years, to get me out of those dark nights, I enter one of those chambers. And recently, I've used the chamber of solace a lot. And something that I realized while I was in there, because in the chamber of solace, there's this huge lake, and it's an incredible chamber. The whole thing is made of crystal and just a beautiful big lake. And when I go into the lake, basically I go into the lake to release everything, and I cry and cry and cry. But what I realized was those who had been in the lake before me and cried their tears are salty, therefore they help you float. So those who had been in there and cried before me allowed me to rise to the top of the water. So which meant when I cried my tears, I only had to cry my remaining tears to allow me to spill over, because there's a spillover when you reach the threshold. There's a spillover which allows me to spill over into the sea of love. Long story, but it did show me that everybody out there that's really feeling that ancestral trauma that we're all carrying. When you release yours, you're helping me release mine. When when others are releasing theirs, it's also releasing mine. When I'm releasing my anger, it's not just mine. I can feel it. It's not just my anger. There's a lot of anger that others can't release on their own for whatever reason, or sadness. Sometimes, I was at a cafe not long ago, and I just felt this sadness, this intense sadness. There was a woman sitting near me, and I just had to get in the car and cry. I just had to sit in the car and cry and cry and cry. And once I did, that was it. But I felt I had to release this sadness for this woman. I felt like she was going to have a heart attack if I didn't cry her tears. It was so intense. So I don't think we're living as individuals anymore. We're no longer individual beings as we thought we were. It's almost impossible to live that now, to be that now.
So my friend that was on before this show, the first time he came on, he was talking about how we're learning to be human again, but we don't know what human is. But then the next thing he said that now we have to go out into the world. That we can now. Again, this is figuratively and literally, right? I mean, energetically. So like we have to go out into the world. We have to mix. Like, how can you be human if you're not mixing with the mirrors that, So I think about like what you're saying, like pulling in your energy, containing all your energy during this time, which is also something that's happened to many of us in this journey where we've, like when the quarantines came, it wasn't even a lifestyle change for any of us because we're all hermits, a good part of our time, right? But now to go out into the field to both share and receive, I guess. But and maybe that's more of an energetic thing, like you're talking about, like the compassion and such. But like we can't be it's impossible to be indifferent to what happens to others. And that doesn't mean that it stops with what we might call victims. It includes the perpetrator as well. Right? Like, I mean, it's something that it's like oneness. Everybody says, oh yeah, well, I represent oneness except for this and that and this. Those people are bad, or these people are asleep. But it's like, even if we say that, we can't fight the reality that we're one. By the same token, this connectivity and the connectivity remains to be seen and experienced, and the indifference as a result of that, the indifference that really isn't there, has to go away.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, and it does feel like it really does, for me anyway. It really does feel like I'm learning to be human again. And it's this whole thing is bringing up. This isn't the first time we've been through what we're going through now. It may have looked different, but we've been through it. We've been through it before.
Of course, World War II.
Yeah, and even further back. Go even further.
Course.
Previous lifetimes. We've done this before, but something's different now.
Yeah.
Something is definitely different now. And actually, a couple of weeks back, I woke up and actually it was on the 13th of October. I remember the date. I don't know why I remember the date, but it was on the 13th of October. I woke up.
I believe that was the first day of the new world, the 13th of October.
Are you kidding me?
Well, no, because the 10th, 11th, and 12th were like major, just something was going on. And then
Okay.
the next day I was literally, and I said it on the shows I was like, you know, something's changed, like to the nth degree, something's changed. And that's what I felt like. I felt like we were actually in the new world, you know. Go ahead.
So that morning I woke up and the first words that came to mind was, today marks the end of the old time phase. And I saw this multidimensional clock, and behind it was another clock, and basically the old clock was merging into the new time phase. I don't know what that actually means, but it was merging into a new time phase. And I asked, but what does that actually mean? I don't know what that means though. For us as humans here, what does it mean? And I was shown that time will actually speed up. And my first thought was, oh, great, that means we're going to get old quicker. But it was, although time speeds up, our DNA operates better, and therefore our aging process slows. So even though time speeds up, and I don't know how that works, but time speeds up, but our DNA slows things down. And the other thing that happens is those who are walking around with the blindfold, and a lot of us have those blindfolds on, the blindfolds become transparent, so they can no longer hide what we've not wanted to see, basically. So that was interesting. And it's interesting that you say that 13th is.
Yeah. Well, everything's relevant now. No matter what, no matter what, right? I mean, even if it doesn't look like it makes sense or doesn't fit. But like in regard to the hero's journey, like in regard to the dark night of the soul and what we did as individuals, like, are you pulling anything from that transformational time and applying it now? Because I see it as like an individual overlay over an individual, and then we go through the dark night and we really only can pull from ourselves. That's, to me, the one way to really describe what everybody's story has been. But then now we're going through this collective overlay. Do we apply the same thing? Do you think you're applying the same thing? Like, do you remember in those times what you did to turn yourself around or pull yourself up?
Yes and no. I think what happens for me personally, although I might draw on some aspects of it, it's not the same, especially right now. It just feels so different. I've always been a very, what do you call it? I've always been out there. I probably spent more of my life out there than in here in this body. And the past 2 years for me has been very physical and has been all about bringing it back here and really anchoring it into my physical body. And so I've had to learn new ways of communicating without going out there, but bringing that into this physical vessel. Does that make sense? So for me, it's been very different. My connection is different. My the communication the way I receive the communication is different now. I actually receive it into my body, physically into my body. And I think that's where I struggle now with finding words for it. Yeah, the information is way grander though. Even though I used to get amazing stories and all the rest of that out there, yeah, it was great. But now it's very I don't know. I just don't have words.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I
like
just don't have words
when
for it.
but like when you were going through the dark nights, did you have those moments where you were like, I don't want to be here.
Oh God, yeah, yes,
I want
absolutely,
out, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like and do you see that? Like I know there's got to be some parallel between the collective dark night versus our individual dark nights. There's got to be.
Yeah.
There has to be, as within without, you know. So and the reason I had brought that up earlier was because it was like, okay, is this how we're put to work by applying those things that we discovered in ourselves and so on? Um, do we apply those now as we applied individually? I mean, I don't know.
I think so. I don't think we throw everything out because everything has led us to this point, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we but it's kind of the way I see it is imagine you know this point being the tip of the spiral, for example, and as we spiral and we spiral up like this, as we spiral we get a different view on that same trauma or whatever it is that created that dark night of the soul. And as we spiral, and sometimes we kind of think, oh shit, here I am here again, haven't I already dealt with this? But we're viewing it from a different angle. And as we keep spiraling up and keep spiraling, it doesn't mean we're not seeing it, but we're seeing it from different vantage points.
Yeah.
So do I use the same techniques as I used at that point? In some ways, yes, but in other ways, no, because I've further developed my knowing or understanding. So it changes constantly the way I like. I know people who, and I've always been jealous of people who work with specific energies or archangels or and they've worked with them for all their lives. I've never had that. Mine is just constantly changing, and one of the worst experiences of one of my dark nights of the soul experiences I had was when I used to communicate with my group, my team, and they all disappeared, every single one of them. And it was like I woke up one morning, all gone, nothing. There was nothing there. And holy moly, that sent me into a head spin. That was one of the times where I didn't want to be here anymore. I wanted out.
How long ago was that?
Oh, 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted out. I didn't want to be here. And then months and months later, I reckon it was a good 3 months later, because I was angry. I was so pissed off. I thought, how can I be on this planet with nothing, no support at all? And that's how I felt. And it was probably about 3 months. And I sat down to meditate one day, and I kind of got a glimpse that they had moved from out there to inside me.
Yeah.
And I just caught a glimpse of them. And you'd think I would have been happy. I was irate. Can I swear? Am I allowed to swear?
Of course. This is Soulogy.
And I went, you fuckers. I was so angry. You can all go fuck yourselves. I want nothing to do. I was so angry with them. And they said, but we've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
You can't be, oh my gosh. And then so of course, then I had to build a new relationship and how to work with them, because some of them had changed, and it was so I find my tools evolve constantly. So that was my long answer to a short question. Yes, I use some of those tools, but not all. I find it's constantly changing. Even now, it's just constantly changing.
So you said the word solace, right? Solace, SOLACE.
Solace, yeah.
And I just had to look it up, and so it's interesting because one definition's a noun, right? Comfort or consolation in a time of distress or sadness. She sought solace in her religion. And then the other one's a verb. Give comfort to or consolation to. The soundlessness of nature impressed and solaced her. Right? I don't know why I even did that, but there was something about, like when you said, like pulling in the energy, being self-contained, but then also the thing about there's no longer indifference to everybody else, right? I mean, like both are solace within myself, and then there's the other one.
Yeah, it's interesting you had to Google that, because I had to do the same when I was first given the chambers. Solace. I thought, I don't really know what that means, and I had to Google that. And it wasn't until I spent time in that chamber that I fully understood what it meant. Yeah.
It's very, very weird. Every day's weird to me. There's like new frequencies in the air, and new, like you were talking about, new new things to contend with, because we have more awareness of ourselves, and also more, higher up that spiral, and seeing things we didn't see before. I don't know. It's just, and yet underneath it all, it feels like everything's just coming together, like just fitting together, piece by piece by piece.
Yeah. And I feel like like those spaces between, the in-between spaces, the in-between words, in-between activities, in between, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like those spaces are so filled with information right now.
That's why we can't describe it, because there's no words for it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. There's just so much information there that just, the other day I saw the women on our planet. It was almost like we're bloodletting, and there's something about when we bleed right now, and it was like we were, again, there's no words for it, but it was like we're releasing an old civilization. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like we're letting go of this old civilization as we bleed.
Wow, that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. There's definitely that feminine part of our existence, within ourselves and everywhere is definitely taking the reins. It's almost like we're going from a template of control like controlling, owning, possessing, where everyone's kind of a number. Like if that one drops, just replace it, to one of every single one out there is a son or a daughter.
Yeah.
Like going back to what you said about the diminishing of indifference, like the experience and embodiment of our connectivity. That if one person is not being, if one person is lacking, if one person is whatever, then it's a concern, and it's not just an afterthought. It's not just I know that's there, but it's not affecting me, and I can go on my life. It's like that's not being allowed. It's just
Absolutely, yeah. And it's how our cells in our bodies work, isn't it? We're cells of this planet. So our cells don't abandon those that, if you've got a weak cell in the body, the other cells move in to support that cell until it's operating to its full capacity again.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's how we're meant to be. I think that's how we're meant to be.
What a head rush. I'm still stuck on the bloodletting. Is that what you called it? Bloodletting?
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Well,
yeah.
but I mean that's it almost sounds like the mother energy, through the physical forms that comprise her, releasing that. I almost want to say like old DNA, the old DNA, the way the stuff that's being removed so it can be replaced with this other thing. God,
Yeah.
I feel like a zombie today. It's been like this for 5 days. I feel like I'm out of my body. I am out of my body. How did we just go through an hour?
Wow, that went quick, didn't it?
I don't even know. I feel like I just got on like 2 minutes ago. I have another show. We have another show in 5 minutes. God.
Holy guacamole. Wow. Yeah, good luck with that.
That was just like I feel like we just went into a vacuum. Like,
yeah, that was pretty intense.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
Here I was thinking, what am I going to talk about with him? I've got nothing to say. I haven't shut up.
Sasha said it felt like 10 minutes. Yeah, I don't even know. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. But it was good seeing you.
And you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for holding down that end of the earth over there with your sisters. I know there's a lot going on.
We're all doing our bit, aren't we?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was good seeing you. Peace out. We'll be back in 5 minutes with Chastity Ann. Yes.
See you.
All right.